You wake up, you check your phone, a couple of notifications, maybe a message or two, and then you realize, oh, it's your birthday. And your reaction is basically, okay. No countdown, no plans, no big day energy. You get up, brush your teeth, and treat it like a regular Tuesday. Coffee tastes the same, the world doesn't pause, and honestly, you're fine with that. But here's the thing, that choice to treat your birthday like a normal day isn't random, it's not laziness, and it's definitely not because you don't care. There's psychology under it, quiet, layered psychology. And if this sounds like you, or someone you know, you might recognize yourself in one of these patterns more than you expect. Let's start with a familiar scene. Someone casually says, "So, what are you doing for your birthday?" And you shrug. Nothing special. They look at you like you just said you don't celebrate oxygen. For some people, birthdays feel like spotlights, and spotlights are uncomfortable. This first type tends to experience attention as pressure, not pleasure. When all eyes turn toward them, when expectations rise, when people wait for a reaction, their nervous system quietly tightens. It's not social anxiety exactly, it's more like emotional exposure. Birthdays come with scripts: gratitude, excitement, surprise, joy. And if you don't feel those things strongly, performing them feels dishonest. So instead, you opt out. You minimize the day, so you don't have to manage other people's expectations. No hype means no letdown. No spotlight means no performance. If this is you, you're often deeply private with your emotions. You process internally. You prefer meaning over display. And you might actually feel more appreciated when someone remembers quietly, without fanfare, than when a room starts singing at you. Then there's another profile. The person who treats birthdays normally because time to them is strangely flat. Age doesn't feel dramatic. Turning 27 feels a lot like turning 26, or 31, or 34. You're not in denial about aging, you just don't attach symbolism to numbers. Psychologically, this often shows up in people who anchor their identity to growth rather than milestones. You measure life in skills learned, ideas changed, stability gained, not in candles or years. For you, a birthday isn't a checkpoint, it's just a date. You might even find it odd when others say things like, "This year has to be different," as if January or a birthday magically resets the brain. In your mind, change happens slowly, quietly, on random Wednesdays. So when your birthday comes around, there's no internal signal that says pause, reflect, celebrate. You already reflect all the time. But here's a subtler one, and this one often hides under the surface. Some people downplay their birthday because they learned early on not to expect much from it. Maybe celebrations were inconsistent growing up. Maybe promises were made and broken. Maybe attention came with strings attached. So over time, the brain adapts in a very protective way. If I don't expect anything, I can't be disappointed. This isn't pessimism, it's emotional self-regulation. By treating your birthday like a normal day, you keep control. You avoid the risk of feeling forgotten, overlooked, or misunderstood. You don't give the day enough power to hurt you. And often, these people are incredibly independent. They're used to meeting their own needs. They don't like relying on external validation, not because they don't want connection, but because they learned not to depend on it. If this resonates, you might notice a pattern beyond birthdays. You rarely ask for help. You downplay achievements. You feel uncomfortable when someone makes a big deal out of you. Compliments bounce off faster than criticism does. Then there's the person whose birthday feels emotionally noisy. Messages flood in. Notifications stack up. People you haven't spoken to in years suddenly reappear with HBD texts. And instead of feeling loved, you oddly feel drained. For highly sensitive or introspective personalities, birthdays can feel socially overwhelming. Each message carries an unspoken obligation to reply, to thank, to match enthusiasm. And your mind doesn't register this as celebration, it registers it as cognitive load. So you simplify. You keep the day quiet. You maybe even hide the date from social platforms. This isn't antisocial behavior, it's energy management. You value depth over quantity.
One sincere message means more to you than 20 generic ones. And when birthdays become performative, they lose emotional authenticity, which makes you disengage. And now, the twist most people don't expect. Some people treat their birthday like a normal day not because they feel less, but because they feel enough. They're content, grounded, not chasing external highs. Their sense of worth isn't tied to how many people celebrate them on a specific date. They don't need symbolic reassurance because their identity feels stable. Psychologically, this is often linked to internal validation. You don't need a day to remind you that you matter. You already know. Or at least, you're not questioning it constantly. So when your birthday comes around, it's pleasant, neutral, calm, like a quiet acknowledgement instead of a parade. Of course, none of these types are boxes. You can be a mix. You might resonate with one this year and another next year. Context matters. Life changes people. And here's something important to say out loud. Not celebrating your birthday doesn't mean something is wrong with you. And loving birthdays doesn't mean someone is shallow or needy. The psychology isn't about the day. It's about how you relate to attention, time, expectation, and emotional safety. So let me ask you, gently, which version felt closest? Was it the privacy, the independence, the emotional self-protection, or the quiet contentment? And if you do treat your birthday like a normal day, maybe that's not indifference. Maybe it's a reflection of how you've learned to move through the world. If this made you think of yourself or someone you know, sit with that for a moment. And if you want more explorations like this where everyday behaviors reveal deeper patterns, you already know where to find them. But for now, happy birthday, or just happy day.